Hi, I'm Solace and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a controversial one. So as many of you know, I am about to be starting my Scorpia late natural form, early second bustle dress. And one of the things that needs to be done before I can start that is underthings. I already have a chemise. I am in the process of filming the making of my little bustle pad. And then I have petticoats. So really, all that leaves at this point is the corset. Which brings me to today's video, which is going to be talking about 10 points that I hear for and against corsetry, whether or not they make sense, and how that weighed into my decision to not wear a corset for this cosplay. If that is upsetting to you and you want to get to the main point that was really a linchpin for me, even if you disagree with me, I really would appreciate it if you would skip to the timestamp. I don't know how to put them on the video, but it'll be in the description below, talking about my last and most important reason, and something I think everybody should be thinking about when they talk to somebody and they realize somebody isn't wearing a corset or a stays or another proper support garment for the time period they are dressed as, and why maybe we need to be a little bit easier on these people than we might be, and why maybe we shouldn't be jumping to conclusions the way that we are. Well, not everybody. It's a minority, but it is a very vocal minority online. So without further ado, here's the video. So first we have a myth from the very anti-corset camp, and this is that corsets were torture devices. They were awful, they were uncomfortable, women couldn't breathe in them, they were a torture device, perpetrated by the patriarchy to make women's lives miserable. Quite frankly, that doesn't make much sense when you get right down to it. There's evidence showing that men thought that the more extreme and exaggerated corseting was rather unattractive, and that thought a lot of the gown silhouettes were, quite frankly, kind of silly. Think about nowadays, right? How many guys actually think that women's fashion is interesting and matters and find the most stylish clothing, the most attractive clothing at the time? Odds are it's not going to be the majority, with the exception of certain trends. So why would we assume that women only wore corsets for men? For the most part, they served the function of bust support. You really only have the high upper class women tight lacing, right? That's just not practical. And every class of women did wear corsets. And they wore corsets, stays, and bodies for hundreds of years. That wouldn't have been done if these were literal torture devices. So that point just doesn't make sense. From the other camp, you have the point that a corset is more comfortable than a bra. And while for some people that may be the case, I also think that if that were true for the vast majority of women, we wouldn't have transitioned to a bra. Like, I'm not saying there's not a large percentage of women for whom a corset is more comfortable than a bra. Though I do think that if that were true for more than like 60% of women, the transition just wouldn't have happened. And yet clearly it did. So obviously there is something about a bra that does make it better than a corset for the average woman, assuming they're both well-fitting. And obviously that one is just much more of a matter of opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm just saying that as a general trend, I don't know that that tracks. I'd love to see a study or a survey done on it, but unfortunately all we have is people on the internet telling you their opinions. And the simple fact of the matter is, with all of the anti-corset information out there, we've created a very vocal minority of very pro-corset people who love their corset so much more than their bra and feel the need to loudly defend that choice and that reason, which they also shouldn't have to do. Everybody should just be able to make their own choice, and that should be fine. Unfortunately, that is not quite how the internet works. The next point is that you can't be physically active in a corset or pair of stays. Now, many people before me who actually wear corsets and stays for physical activities have done so and filmed videos of them doing all of the things in their corsets and stays, whether that's hiking, whether that's fighting, whether that's their normal workout routine. The point is that it already exists. I will link some of those videos in the description below. Beyond that, I would just encourage you to look at their point and remember that every class of women wore a corset or stays, not just the wealthy. So if a milkmaid has, to go milk cows, then they're going to be doing that in their stays or their corset or whatever would have been worn at the time. That being said, I don't think it is logical to deny that wearing stays or a corset does affect how you move, right? You can't really bend at the waist when you're in a fully boned garment. And for the work that the majority of women did at this point in history, that was fine. However, for daily wear nowadays, I do think that is a point against corsets. You know what I mean? For less historically accurate events, if you're just going to a convention to have fun, for me, that's a point against corsets, right? I like to be able to move and bend as I please, so that is one of the points that went into my decision not to wear a corset. If I'm at a convention, which is where I'm planning on wearing this gown to, I'd like to be able to bend to the ground and pick something up at the waist, because that's just what feels more natural for me to bend at. But this is once again a to my personal body thing, and in no way a knock against anybody who thinks that that limited range of motion is worth it for other reasons, such as back support, or whatever else it is that you get out of a corset. One huge pro for a corset, in my opinion, is that typically you will lace down to a fairly consistent measurement, even if your weight fluctuates, from what I've heard from people who have weights that fluctuate, which is very nice if you're somebody like me and your waistline can be 12 inches different from one week to the next. It would be very nice to have a garment that I could put on that would consistently make me the same measurement. This was a point that made me really consider going for a corset. So if inconsistent measurements is a thing that you struggle with, a corset may help with that. Your results may vary, as this doesn't seem to be the case for everybody who's worn a corset, but I've seen quite a few people talking about this. This downside only really applies for daily wear and not necessarily special occasion wear, or even daily wear, but if you are smart about it. And that is, muscle atrophy is real, right? Like there are people on the internet who like to act like you put on a corset and it's fine and you don't need to worry about muscle atrophy. But you do though. If you're going to wear a corset for daily wear, you need to make sure you're doing core exercises. I would say at least once a day, but you could probably get away with once a week. I'm not an exercise expert, and I would check that out with somebody who isn't me, but it is an important thing that should be done if you do decide to wear a corset for daily wear. As mentioned, you don't need to worry about this if you're just wearing a corset for a weekend, but some food for thought. Huge plus for corsets is that if you're doing historical costuming in particular, it can make achieving a silhouette a million times easier, right? Because you've already got the set ratio you want, as close as your body can get it at least, pre-programmed into this garment that you then just need to lace up, and it does a lot of the work for you. That being said, it isn't the only way to get an accurate silhouette, and the majority of your work is still going to be achieved through padding, right? Corseted or uncorseted, you're probably going to need some kind of bust padding, some kind of skirt support, right? You're not just there right away. And that goes into the myth mentioned earlier with people thinking corset devices. Corsets are these torture devices designed to tight-lace women into these bizarre shapes. The shapes were things the women chose to do with their bodies through padding and skirt supports and tricks of proportion. Your waist's going to look a lot tinier when you've got a skirt that's the diameter of, 6 feet, and then your waist's still the standard, I don't know what a normal waist is. My waist's like 34 inches. So, it's a trick of illusion. That's the word. Okay, moving on. Corsets are also super helpful, and a lot of these also apply to stays too, are also super helpful in helping to take the weight off of your body from huge skirts, right? If you wear a 18th century gown with the big panniers, all that weight is going to be focused on your waist and your back from your huge skirt. But if you've got the corset, it's taking that weight and distributing it much more than if it's just straight on your body. And my last point is something I'm going to go much more in depth on than anything else. And this is something that we really need to be reminding people when you see people talking about how, oh, if you've got a well-fitting corset, no matter who you are, it won't be uncomfortable. And that's that not everyone can wear a corset, full stop, period. It's not just not everybody can wear a corset off the rack. It's not just that not everybody can wear a fully boned corset. It's that some people can't wear this garment at all. And that is a thing we need to be cognizant of when talking about these things. Can the average healthy person wear a corset with little pain and discomfort if it's well-fitting? Yes. Can a person who, like me, has rib problems wear a corset that is, well-fitting without pain or discomfort? Most days, but other days I can't wear a bra, and other days I can't wear a tight-fitting shirt. I can only speak on that front from my personal experience. But it doesn't take, a lot of empathy, in my opinion, to realize the amount of conditions that might make having a corset either difficult or impossible. Hypothetically, you have a condition that you can still wear a corset. Some kind of, like Bernadette Banner has, scoliosis. But you aren't the best seamstress yet, and you can't make your own corset. You can't buy an off-the-rack one because it's going to hurt your body because your body's not made for that. So your only option would be to get a bespoke corset for quite a pretty penny. I don't think that that is a fair ask for somebody who's doing this at the hobby level with fabric from the discount store or with fabric they get at, used secondhand stores. I think we need to be a little bit more forgiving to people who have a hard time getting or wearing a corset or stays or whatever it is. As a person who, yes, I can wear them, but I can wear them for only a short amount of time, I don't like planning my whole outfits around a garment that I can't wear for a whole day and that there's days I can't wear at all. I don't think that makes sense for me, and that's why I'm not wearing a corset for Scorpia. And that's why I'm probably only making stays with a front piece like the ones that I showed here, which need remade because my weight has changed since then, for Sylvanas when I get around to her. And that's why I'm going to be faking my way through a lot of costumes without a corset by using other garments to just compensate and pad. And I think that you can absolutely make and have a beautiful costume without having a corset. And I don't think it is anybody's business whether or not you're wearing a corset. And I don't think we need to be telling people that the reason that they don't like wearing a corset is because they just haven't worn the right one, or they haven't worn one that fit right, or blah, 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 blah. I understand those comments usually come from a helpful place. And I understand people who are very pro-corset often feel very attacked by the fact that corsets do in fact have a bit of a bad reputation. But it's already hard for people with some of these conditions to try and be a part of this community in the first place. And I think we need to be as welcoming and accommodating as we can. And these people might not want to say they have a condition. They might make up an excuse and go, oh, I just don't like corsets. And in that moment, maybe right before you launch into your speech educating a person about why they don't like corsets, just stop for a second, ask if they've done research into it yet, and if they say yes, let it go. And if they say no, maybe just give them a resource or two. But I don't think trying to educate people in the way that some have is always the most helpful. And if you feel taken aback by the way I'm saying that, I'm sorry. It's not that I want misinformation to circulate, but I think in the name of trying to squash out misinformation, we are squashing out the ability for certain people to participate, and I do think that's a thing we need to try and be more aware of as a community. And that is all I have for you this week. I will see you next week, and in the meantime, I've been Solace. Next week I will be uploading the making of my skirt support video for Scorpia, which I am super excited about, and then we will be starting on her as I have all the fabric just off camera. I am so excited to get to work on this project, and I can't wait to show y'all what I've got cooked up inside. I will see y'all next week. Bye bye.